Welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be making a Damascus knife. I'm planning on making a random, not a random pattern, but a ladder pattern or raindrop pattern Damascus knife. Let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is cut up a bandsaw from our Wood-Mizer sawmill, and then we'll cut up some washing machine metal to use as mild steel, with the bandsaw being hard steel. Let's get started cutting. Okay, so we're gonna do 21 layers. We're gonna do 11 layers of hard steel, which is a saw blade. And so let's clean it with the belt sander. So these are going to be 2 by say 1 inch squares or rectangles, and I need 10 mild steel or washing machine pieces and then 11 hard steel pieces. So let's go cut washing machine metal. I have some of it already cut from previous projects, and I will need to cut some more though. So let's get started. Alright, so I got some washing machine metal here, and we're going to sand it clean, and I have almost enough just in extra stuff. So here's one of the chunks of washing machine metal. I'm going to cut it in half. Last piece of washing machine metal, another scrap. Alright, now it's time to cut this one up. We need this into 11 2-inch pieces. This is the scraps and everything left over, plus this. There we go. Alright, now it's time to start stacking them. We're going to be doing hard steel, mild steel, hard steel, mild steel, hard steel, up to 21 layers. Okay. Alright, now we're gonna take and use the grinding disc on the angle grinder and flatten all 4 sides. Alright, so we got this thing ground down pretty smooth, and let's see here, we'll find the dimensions. 7/16 tall, wide. 7/16 wide, 7/8 inch wide. And then it's going to be 16, 8, 9, 10, 11/16 tall, an inch and 7/8 long. It was about 1 inch by 1 inch by 2 inches, but you know, you sand it all down, grind it all down, make everything flat, it gets smaller. So I'm gonna go down and weld this, and I'll see you guys after I weld it. Just so I don't have to video down in the shop. I'm also gonna weld on this piece of metal as a little handle. I'll see you guys after I weld this up. Alright, so we got the bar of steel right here, and got it all welded up. Time to heat this thing up and start making a knife out of it. And I have decided to make this kind of interesting and for me to do 2 things at once. Half of this will be a ladder pattern and half of it will be a raindrop pattern. I don't know how it's gonna work out yet, But we're gonna get to working and get this thing smashed out. Now it's time to start forging the handle of this knife. We're gonna just forge it a little bit, just to give it more length before I put in the grooves and the holes for the Damascus pattern. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is take the angle grinder with a cutoff disc and cut some grooves on one side, and then take the drill with probably a 1/4 inch drill bit or 3/8, yeah, 1, 2, 3/8 inch drill bit, and drill on the other side. And then after that, we'll forge it all flat, and hopefully the pattern works. But we'll find out when we get through this. So let's start with cutting the grooves in. So I don't have that much left to forge, really. It's already almost as thin as I want it. Sadly, it's a little, almost too thin. But we're gonna give it the best shot, and if it turns out wrong, it don't matter. All right, so as of right now, I just did the raindrop side, and from what I've seen from the slag, it actually looks really good. I think it's working, but don't quote me yet. Still got a little ways to go. I am sanding and hand sanding this. Now I'm gonna do the ladder pattern side, see how that looks. All right, so I got the knife right here. And we're gonna start with profiling it, and then we'll start cleaning it up. I'm going for a clip point, something like this. Just a small skinning knife to carry around when you go hunting. I will make a sheath for it eventually, but it's pretty thin right now, so we're just gonna start with sanding, profiling it, and go from there. Let's get started. Alright, so I got the knife sanded, and now it's time to go and drill the holes. I'm going to go do it at my neighbor's house because he has a drill press, and it's going to be easier for me. After that, I will quench the knife, and I will get you guys for that, and we're going to be quenching this thing in motor oil. Alright, we got our quench tank here I just made, and it's time to fill it up with oil and quench this knife. All right, I'm gonna put this thing in a temper, which means in the oven at 400 degrees for about an hour and a half, and I will see you guys after that when I start cleaning the knife up and etching the knife. All right, it's the next day. We got the knife right here. It's all tempered and ready. And now it's time to sand it. We're gonna use the belt sander and clean it up, and then we will hand sand it all the way up to 600 grit or 800 grit sandpaper. All right, we're gonna start hand sanding with 220 grit sandpaper. All right, so we hand sanded the one side to 220 grit, and now it's time to hand sand it at 400 grit. 400. All right, now it's time to hand sand it at 800 grit. Time to do the other side. And just telling you guys, I won't video hand sanding this side just because it's boring. All right, now it is time to etch this knife. So we're going to be cleaning it with Dawn dish soap to make sure we get all the oil and grease off of it. And then we will dip it in our ferric chloride and go with that. Let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna set the knife in the ferric chloride for 5 minutes, and then we'll take it out and look at it. After we take it out, we're gonna hand sand it at 1000 grit, and then we'll put it back in for 5 minutes, and then hand sand it at 2000 grit. So I'll see you guys when I hand sand it at 1000 grit. So I don't have 1000 grit sandpaper, so we can only sand it with 2000 grit, which isn't that bad. All right, so I'm gonna do one more cycle of 5 minutes in the ferric chloride, and then I'll hand sand it at 2000 grit again. And then after that, we're gonna set it in instant coffee mix. Like it'll have water in it, not just the grounds. But we're gonna set it in that for about 3 hours and see what happens with that. Hopefully it works out this time, but I'm about ready to hand sand it again at 2000 grit. All right, here's the knife. Let's see here, hopefully you guys can see the pattern pretty good. So this is the raindrop pattern side. You can see the raindrop patterns in there. And then this is the ladder pattern side. It's a little bit less contrast, but it is still there. So now we're gonna put it in a coffee mix, a super strong coffee mix for about 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. So let's get started with that. I'll see you guys in a couple hours. All right, it is time to take the knife out of the coffee etch, and then we will get that cleaned up so we can start working on the handle. All right, so what we're gonna do here is just gonna pull it out, and I'm gonna go rinse this off real quick so then we can look at the knife. All right, the knife looks great, and now I'm gonna take some of this sunshine cloth and buff it with that for a little while. All right, now that we got this thing all cleaned up, look at that, pretty. And we're going to be putting carnauba wax on it. So we're going to heat up the blade a little bit and hopefully this wax will melt onto it. All right, so here's the knife. So I'm gonna wrap it in shop rags and electrical tape, and then we can start working on the handle. Let's go. All right, so I got 3 pieces of wood here. I'm gonna sand these all down and see which one I like best, and then we'll go with that one. All right, so now what we're gonna do is cut the pins to put in here so we can start sanding these. All right, time to start sanding. We have it outlined here. We're gonna sand it as close as I want, and then we will put on the knife and finish sanding. All right, so I have to hand sand the front of this before I put it on the knife, just so then it's looks good, because you cannot get up there after you put the handle on the knife. So let's get this cleaned up. All right, it is time to start gluing this up. So we got our 5-minute epoxy here. We're gonna pour it into an old Coca-Cola can and mix it up and put it on the handle. I think so. You just. There we go. I'll see you guys in a couple hours. All right. First thing we're gonna do. First off, this thing dried. We're gonna take and smash these pins, and then we'll sand the handle. All right, time to sand this thing. All right, so now that I got this handle sanded on the belt sander, it's time to take and hand sand it for a little while and get it smooth. All right, now we're going to try to buff the handle with the drill.